should be able to, whoops. That, hang on, that rolled quite a ways. Let's go take a look. Welcome back to the channel. I almost forgot to bring you guys in on this one. We got to get on, excuse me, that Ford 9N. We've had it here for about a week and we haven't been able to touch it. Well, we got the front tires off and we went with some just regular implement tires because this is a 15 by about 5-inch rim, kind of like a implement rim. They're like a 5 or 615 rib tire and they fit and look just great. So we got those, so that was handy. Then we rolled her in here and pulled the tin off to get a better look at our engine. I think we're going to go ahead and replace hoses in the belt on this, but we want to get it running first. Just as an FYI, your informations, the gas tank comes off with the tin. There's our water separator or sediment bowl, and we got a new one of those for it. We put a ratchet on the alternator and we turn the engine 2 revolutions, make sure there's no, mechanical unhappiness inside. But apparently this tractor ran just a couple years ago, so it should run. Customer got a new battery, so it's all up in here ready to go. But just by turning over the engine 2 revolutions, and oh, by the way, the customer said, yeah, I know the hydraulic fluid is low. Well, it was very low. And usually, without any signs of leakages around, gaskets and stuff, that indicates a PTO output shaft seal. So just with the 2 revolutions of the engine way up there, we had about, I don't know, 4-inch diameter pool of transmission fluid down here behind the tractor. What we've started to do here, and again, I apologize I didn't bring you in on this sooner, we're going to take this shaft out and replace that seal. Now, these overruns are fairly simple. I'm going to put 1 bolt back in here so this holds this shaft in, because we need to work against that just a little bit. But you got a grease zerk on each side, and those were both broken off. And then there's just a, let's see if we can get it to show here. There's a pin that goes through the middle. So you should be able to knock that pin out, pull this overrun right off, and then we can pull the whole output shaft off. Yeah, there it comes. Just for a second. There we go. It's a roll pin, not a solid pin. Now this should just slide off. There we go. All right, now we're on the right track, and that needed grease. So if you ever see one of these and one of these grease zerks, the grease zerks always break off. You just break off the tips. But if the grease zerk is missing, you got to get something back in there, because that pin could work itself out through that hole. Now let's take your bolt back out here. And then this output shaft just slides right on out. And there comes a bunch of oil. Just like that. Okay, over on the bench, there is a internal snap ring. We got to pry it out of there. like that. And then we'll clean up some of the goo and grease and stuff. Now we should be able to, whoops. That, hang on, that rolled quite a ways. For your FY informations, this is why, you know, we try, and I know it's a mess. It's chaos, but at the same time, it's clean. I try to keep my floor clean and stuff picked up that isn't going to be moved pretty quickly. And here's why: we lost that snap ring off of that output shaft, and it rolled. I mean, you could just hear it kind of going. That's not what it was anyway. It rolled all the way over here and underneath the Super Duty. And luckily the floor is clean, so as soon as I looked under here, I could see it. And we didn't lose that, you know, snap ring from 1947. Okay, back to it. We should be able to hold that shaft, that output housing, and just tippy tap that shaft right out of there. Or not. It's coming, it's just dirty. Bigger hammer. There it goes. There's our bearing and our spacer. It stays with the shaft. And our seal is right in there. And it looks like we've got a second snap ring. We'll try not to have this one go as far across the shop. And I brought just the wrong size screwdriver over here. Well, the Napa Valley doesn't have our seal, and you know, on a closer inspection, I think we're going to do the bearing as well, and here's why. Here's our seal. The seal is just ruined. The little spring ring was out of it, and everything here. So that's obviously just leaking. But when you look at this bearing, it seems okay. It's a little rough when you put a load on it, but looky here. It's got these little ticky-tack welds. That would be on the outward facing side, and I don't know what someone may have tried to do there, unless they were trying to heat this up or shrink it or expand it to get it to go on the shaft. I don't know. Either way, it's got these little welds tacked onto it here, which don't seem to affect the rotation of it. But what has happened is this is that inner snap ring that rides against that bearing, and it's got this groove wore into it where those welds are. Now, granted, that bearing should not spin in the housing, and it doesn't look like it's spinning excessively, but it is rolling around maybe just a hair in there, enough that I think those welds are eating into this snap ring. So we're going to go ahead and get a snap ring, a bearing, a spacer, and a seal. I think we can get the bearing, spacer, and seal in a kit, and then we'll have to find the snap ring. So that's going to put us down for a couple days. In the meantime, you can roll these around. You don't want to go, you know, starting them up and flying around the acreage with them. But we stuffed a rag in it, put the cover back on so it won't leak so bad. We're just going to slowly roll this outside so we can work on other stuff. And in a couple days when we get parts in, we'll address that leak, get some hydraulic fluid in it, and then we're going to move forward with trying to get this thing started. we are not going to do the hoses and the belt until we hear it run. There's no use of spending, you know, that's $100 right there, pretty easy, if it ain't gonna run, but I'm pretty sure it is. So that's where we're at. We'll catch you back with the PTO stuff, and then I guess the first start stuff will be on the next video. So this is not a first start video, and it's just a leak fixing video. Okay, parts are here. We went ahead and ordered on the flea bay 2 new snap rings, the seal, and then we've got a gasket here, and then the bearing is out sitting in the sun on a black piece of metal trying to get it hot, and the main output shaft is over in the house. My wife loves me for this. It's in our garage freezer over there because it's big enough to hold it. So we're going to try the old hot bearing versus cold shaft and see if we can't tippy tap that bearing back onto the shaft a little easier that way. In the meantime, we got to get these 2 snap rings in here and this seal, so we're going to do that. I cleaned it all up. It cleaned up really nice with just a wire brush and a drill and all inside there, so life is really happy. I do though need some sort of a tool probably to facilitate putting these back in here. Maybe my regular old pliers will do. Oops, maybe not. Or maybe they will. There we go. Huh. That's pretty nice. Except that was the wrong darn groove. Alright, let's take it out. We'll do it again. Okay, this is the inside of the case. This is the outside. We need this snap ring here to go in so we can put the seal in back here. And then we'll put the bearing on the shaft, and the shaft goes into here, and then the second snap ring goes on after that. So maybe we'll just feed this in this way, down into there. There we go. There. Now we're happy. See, now we're down in there on the second layer. So now we can take our seal, drop him in there, drive that in. Sometimes on these seals, you'll come across them and they have a rubber, they're encased in rubber. And for those, sometimes I'll do a little spritz of just a very light lubricant on that rubber just to make sure that you don't roll that back or tear it or something as you're going in here. There we go. Check out progress. Oh, we're not quite there. There, we're up against that snap ring all the way around. Life is good. We're nice and flush here, nice and flat. Looks good. All right, now the next step, we're gonna move you guys and gals probably over by the vise. We have to go get the freezing shaft and the warmish, hottish bearing, and we'll install the bearing onto the shaft, and then that assembly goes into here. All right, here's the shaft. I told you it was cold. That's frost. It's really humid in the heartland. It's about 95 degrees. So that's what we're dealing with there. and the bearing is sitting out in the sun, so let's go get it. I hope the frost doesn't make it so it doesn't fit. Alright, here we go. Now you didn't get a punch ready, of course. The internet says this can be pretty much a bear if both these pieces are at room temperature. Darn it, it's getting pretty hard going here. Listen for the tone change. When we get on that other metal, you'll hear it. Hear that? High-pitched ding. There it is. Woo! Well, I'm glad we did the old hot and cold, because that'd have been a bear. All right, I'll see you back over on the bench. Okay, back on the bench. There's this second collar here that's retained by the soft pin. You just have to be careful when you're going back in with this that the holes lined up all the way through. If you catch a notch on the output shaft or something, that pin is so soft that it'll catch and it'll start to roll back and it'll jam in there, but ours went in pretty smoothly. It is a pretty good tight fit though, at least the pin is. The collar slides right down on there. So now, last step, we'll go get a little bit of grease for this seal. That's probably too much. I'm going to put a little bit of grease on the shim where the seal rides. Ours is in really good condition, so we're not going to fix it if it ain't broke. Now, what we got to do is we got to slide our shaft in through here, so we can catch our bearing race now. Hopefully. It's a little like wonky. I might have to tippy tap on it. Wants to go on there crooked for some reason. Might be a vice job too. Huh. Well, that was dumb. The GoPro just switched to photo mode, so somewhere in the reel here we've got a photo of this in the vise before I even did anything to it. But we got her done. We did have to tippy tap a ways, but then once it got happy in its home, it slid right in the last half inch or so. Snap rings in there. Bearing is super. The seal looks really good. We've got a gasket here for this. We'll put some silicone carney on that and put this back in the back of the tractor, and then we can go to work trying to get it to run. All right, we got our gasket on here and a lot of silicone. So we should just be able to fish this old guy back in here a ways. And be pretty happy. Like so. Like so. Could it be like so? We're going to thread a couple bolts in. Number one, according to the silicon carney instructions, to where they just start to ooze. And number two, we're going to make sure I'll put this tractor in gear. Seems like it's engaged. And if we go like that, oh, we're good. Golden. That went right in there. All right. So that's the PTO output seal on Ford 2N, 8N, 9N and Ferguson TO 20, 30, 35s, that kind of stuff. We're going to let this sit over the night times. Well, we'll let it sit an hour. Just snugged up like that. And then we'll let it sit over the night times. And tomorrow we'll put fluid in it and go from there. I don't think you need to see all that. The fluid, I will show you the fluid. Let's go look at that real quick. On the Ford 9Ns, and I think it's the 8Ns and 2Ns, the Napa Valley sells this stuff in the 5 gallons, which is just about how much you'll need, but it's 90 weight, straight 90 weight mineral gear oil. GL1 is what you're looking for, and then regular mineral gear oil is what you're looking for. And the Napa Valley, not only do they have it, but they have it in the stocks. So that pretty much whole pail will go in there tomorrow. And then we're gonna fiddle around, 2 hoses, an alternator belt, and we're gonna get this thing to run. That'll be in one of the next videos. We got a ton of content coming your way. Thanks for watching our stuff. We'll see you on the next one.